Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. This is Joe, the bearded historian. He'll tell you an interesting story. Be careful of his soldiers, they can be brats. This is Angel, she's an entity. She'll cause chaos and plant her hands at you. This is Sue, she likes spirits, not the alcohol. She's the reason this channel exists. This is David, he likes fire trucks. He's here occasionally. Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. We preserve his story. Okay, Mr. Bud, you're like in the really dark and I'm not going to see anything but lights as we drive by. But tell them a history lesson anyway.
Well, Keystone, more famous being at the base of Mount Rushmore, basically. Its origins predate what was Mount Rushmore. Interestingly enough, in that particular area, there was several towns that grew up, thrived, and then would later on die. A couple of we've been by, the town of Harney, for one. Actually had several mining camps that would pop up chasing after gold. There was a couple mines in that particular canyon that we're going to be going by that seemed to thrive off of the waters of the both Battle Creek and the Spring Creek that went through that area. The big one, interestingly enough, there used to be a town called Etta, and Etta is now down near the southern end of what's Main Street. At one time was larger than Keystone. It thrived on what was known as a glory hole mining process that would literally blow out the top of the mountain, and then they would work through the tailings. Etta, however, wasn't a gold mine as much as it was a spudamine and tin. There also was the Hugo mine, the Columbia mine, and then the two major ones that always got a lot of the headlines was the Holy Terror and the Keystone mine. Of course, everybody knows the story of the Holy Terror is that somebody found a really rich vein of ore. The guy proceeded to head all the way to Rapid to put down his claim, and the wife of the guy had made the comment, "Well, you better name it after me," and he said, "By golly, I did." But interestingly enough, both the Keystone and the Holy Terror were so large that they actually put several passages between both mines together. There was a number of incidents, though, fires, and eventually they wound up flooding the mine. To this day, I guess there still is gold down there. The only problem is that both due to the water table and the level of arsenic that is in that mine, it would prove to be next to impossible to get anything further out of said mines. A lot of the pictures that we now see for Keystone show what the old Holy Terror mill, the hoist, and several of the other major structures up there are what's left. They're sadly deteriorating almost every year. We would love to go around and walk around inside them. Trust us, we would. This one, though, the Big Thunder Gold Mine, was set up on the other side of the creek. As we get to it closer, we'll be able to do a couple more video shoots. We'll be actually going into the mine itself to do some paranormal investigating. I guess the guy that worked when we did the original tour,
Which hasn't been displayed yet.
Yeah. This guy put in years of effort trying to find his pretty little rock. But he never really hit the big vein like he was hoping he would. He wound up basically, I would call him going mad. But there was a lot of different mineral in this area for the Central Hills. Both Hill City, Keystone, some people down by Custer, down by Pringle, and then when you get further west, Rochford, Silver City, the town that is now under a reservoir. Pactola was a little bed for several mines in the area. But it just goes to show the legacy that mining has had in the Black Hills. And, it's not just all lead and deadwood up there. Those were the biggest ones because they were able to make the most use of the technology, the incorporation of, steam drills, the incorporation of using certain chemicals, also the ability to, render certain chemicals inert. But a lot of the smaller mines that were around here, a lot of those pretty much died off back in the late 30s, early 40s, with the advent of World War II. More recently, they have had a few companies that have tried to come back to both Keystone and Custer to see if there was any further work that could be done. Unfortunately, they weren't able to succeed, whereas the tourism economy seems to be the major, vibrant, thriving
Tourist town!
Today. Yes. Tourist trap!
It is a tourist trap.
But come along with us tonight. We are going to be out in the dark, hopefully not too dark, and we will see you guys shortly.
Depending upon if we have data, this will come on the premieres.
Yes.
Okay, welcome to the first premiere of 6 of our investigation at the Big Thunder Gold Mine. This is Joe's solo investigation. He's the only one that actually did a solo investigation. Hope you see something. Enjoy. Oh, wait. I forgot a thing. You know what I forgot? Do you know? Here we go. Shout out time. Here's a shout out just for you. You support me, so I support you. This shout out is for our friend. Let's find out. As you can see, we've got some spiders, because we saw a couple spiders at the mine. Maybe. There we go. Alright, here go our cute spiders. Next one, I'll probably use scary ones. Eddie's currently in the lead. I see the Brits. I see Yvonne, Freckled, Andrina, African, LZ, Afromax, Buddha Exports, Logan's, Griffins Exports, Spirit in the Sky, Mauna, and Misha. Misha just got 1K, although she did tell me she's not interested in monetization, which is understandable. She's just enjoying sharing her videos. Kind of got three-way tie. Freckles is taking the lead right now. Freckles, I have you in there twice for some reason. I will have to fix that. Here comes Hillbilly from the back. Is Hillbilly going to win? Oh, here comes She Stole. Oh, it's Sheena. I think it's going to be Sheena. It is Sheena. Okay, this is Sheena Keto Vor Life, a full-time reseller of antiques, jewelry, and crystals. She has sells on eBay, so if you are looking for those things, check her out. She also has sales on YouTube sometimes. I don't know how that works, but I know it. I've seen it. Also has days where she just does connecting, or you can connect to build your channel. Very great supporter, so check her out. Like, share, comment, and have a good day. Enjoy the video.
Okay, folks. This is Joe on his solo mission into the mine, Big Thunder. And from what I was reading, this was a venture by a couple German miners who worked kind of a independent type action. They used some of the more crude drill bit methods. Some people still use panning as a method, with water, picks, etc. I remember when we were taking the tour the first time, they said it was a very slow process. You obviously want to watch your head so you don't cave it in on the rails up above. But every inch of rock was literally chiseled out, and they worked their way down. And of course, obviously the miners weren't 6'2", because, smaller the tunnels and shorter the miners. the easier things went. You see big solid walls. Now, they did do some shoring up, more recent stuff. Blocks are chiseled out. Watch your head and step. No, really? Stay with your guide. Really? Oh, see here, that's what discoloration. That's part of one of the veins they were trying to work their way through to for the Lucky Boy. Only problem is that by the time it got here, the Lucky Boy was down to just a couple inches in width, and thusly they were discovering that for all its efforts, they were having a time of it. This is one of the more modern drill units. It's been sitting here for years. You can see some of the larger bits that they would use. Something is definitely down here. Here's your moss image that Angel will be showing later. It's just everywhere. There is a little condensation on the walls and on the top because, well, you are under a mountain, literally. See where it drips in. You gotta watch it up above, or you'll have a wonderful headache. I've discovered the hard way twice. Big barrel. Anybody need some water? Other little points. See the way back to the front. And right there. That's your good stuff. This is part of the Columbia vein. The Columbia actually came along a little bit later, but it was hauling out a pretty good amount of gold ore back in the 1920s. One thing I read that was interesting is that the two guys were 35 years old when they started. In the 1890s, they were 60-something. They were still trying to get this whole thing to work. And finally, one guy left and the other guy died. And the mining operations were closed in World War I. And they completely closed. And World War II came around and it never reopened. They needed every able-bodied man to help go fight in the war. Some more markings. And they say there's a guy with suspenders around here. Drippy drips. Now this is kind of their version of the burglar alarm. If there's ever trouble, they give this thing a whack with the hammers.
Needless to say, you could hear it all the way through town, probably. Later on, we'll be testing it. One big sheet of metal. They had one time it went off and nobody was nearby. And, well, you can pretty much guess what the reaction was. Everybody's running out of the mine. More calcite built up. Water running down. Like this one guy and his kid, you know, this was their dream, this was their hope, and they kept going back further and further. Chisel, and this is before electricity. You know, they were using candlelight. Eventually, they'd also use those happy little wick assemblies on helmets. And they'd work for 30 minutes, and they'd come run back out to get up in that new fresh one. You can imagine so many people had their dreams in mining. This guy wanted to provide for his family. Makes you wonder how long and far one person would go. Little spot of discoloration. Almost looks like sulfur. And there's this shiny little fella here. Not you ever had low ceiling? Well, no kidding. This was the main room they finally got back to. Lots of wide open space. But if I remember when they did the original tour, you could hear that on one end the property line was like right behind that wall. And these have been set down here for years, decades. And then they tried to go up. They had a solid rock wall. And then down back here, for your safety, do not go beyond this point. There's another drill, 2 of them. And they've pretty much been stuck back here. There's the property line back on that end. But, if either of the ghosts want to come out and say, hello, we're here, checking it all out, seeing what we can see. We can hear a little bit of the rain. Slowly start making my way back to where the tunnel still has lights. It's not good on the back. You see, well, a lot of the moisture is coming in though. It is for certain. Couple places where their bolts are out, and that's not a good sign. I guess this is one of their little radio dualies, so that they can work with the people with radios on the tours. They can double check in case somebody got lost or fell behind or other locations. We've been in a few caves that went a long ways down and underground. It's don't feel exhausted by the time you get to the back of the opening. This one's, I think they said 583 feet from entry to the end. But imagine if you were carving that every day using a sledgehammer. I think it's like 1 or 2 inches every year. You'd work on the walls, working forward in the tunnel. You had your history of geology, and you keep right on following the same path, expecting eventually to hit ore of some sort. Here's a notch that they carved out with the tools. See the little curved point where it would have went straight through the big thick rock. Did you see any folks or anything? You know, also note into the comments. It's a mine that dates back to the 1800s. It was started before this was even a state. South Dakota became a state in 1889. And I mean, they've been mining in this area for years before the Big Thunder started. But again, there's this big drill here, which is kind of surprising. You'd see where the blasting wires and stuff would have went. They're going to blow that way. And back to the opening. Now we'll have Sue and the goose. Give it a try. Interestingly enough, the far end is not lit.
You think that there was a switch down there? Do you think that that's why?
I tried the switch, it doesn't light up. So I don't know if it's one of the other switches that's over there, or maybe it's, yeah, maybe it's burned out or something.